Hey, and welcome back to Talk of Better Worlds. My name is SirFelixTheCat, and this is Nerd Talk Thursday, a show where we take something that we're nerdy about and kind of dive into it. This week, I wanted to talk about comics and why they're important to us here at the channel. So, without further ado, let's grab our masks and let's go. So, to start off, we should probably talk a little bit about the history of comics. I'm going to go a little bit further back, and I'm hoping not to bore you. I don't want anybody falling asleep in class today. But we're going to go back to 73,000 years ago. Back then, Stone Age humans drew red lines into a rock. This is considered to be the first art of anything drawn by humans onto a surface. Since as a hashtag, according to professionals, it's probably being on Twitter as well. Let's jump ahead to 1603. This is the Edo period of Japan. This was when we had the birth of manga. It was actually a scroll, which is called word on screen that I'm not going to try to pronounce. These were drawings that look kind of like comic strips in newspapers today. However, if you look at them on large, they do make up what looks like a old school manga. Without these scrolls, we wouldn't have such great titles today like Naruto, Bleach, and the Dragon Ball series. And with that last one specifically, that would possibly mean that Toriyama never even started to work on the Dragon Quest series. And that, my friends, that is not a world I want to live in. Next on our list, we have 1895. This is when we had The Yellow Kid in McFadden Flats. It was considered to be the first comic. Also, the important thing about it, besides being the first, is it was the first to create the whole speech bubble thing that we see in comics today. There are other ways to do dialogue in comics. However, in my opinion, none of them would feel quite as natural and would actually give it a look of a child's book more than anything. You can see from the AI examples on screen of what I mean by that. Jumping to 1936, we actually get our first superhero. This is The Phantom. This was a black and white comic done in newspapers. Not to be confused with the 1996 movie, which pretty much is unanimously hated. Not sure why, I enjoyed it. Then we jump ahead to 1938. This was when we had Action Comics and the creation and launch of Superman. Superman is the ultimate hero. There is nothing he cannot do, and there is nobody he cannot defeat. However, that's exactly why we don't care for him too much here at Talk of Better Worlds. His writing is almost reminiscent of the kid on the playground who has to keep changing the rules just so he is the winner of whatever game you're playing. It gets old after a while. Even with Death of Superman, he came back shortly with Return of Superman. Now, Goku has done the same thing. You had Goku die and he's come back. However, he's not the one who always has to save the day. Gohan has saved the day. Piccolo has saved the day. There are other characters out there. To me personally, Superman might be one of those characters that gives comics a bad name. Just because people look at it and see someone who is just so cheap, if that's even the right word to use, that there's just nothing that can faze them, really. Yeah, he's gotten beat up, but again, remember, Superman's holding back at all times. Rant over. Then, 1939, we have the release of Timely Comics, which went on to be Marvel Comics. This is also when we got to see the first appearances of the Human Torch and the Submariner. Another notable thing about Timely Comics was the release of Captain America in 1941. On the cover, we had Captain America punching Hitler. This went on to sell nearly 1 million comics. Pretty big thing. Also in 1939, we had the release of Batman in Detective Comics number 27. Then our final bit of history is, in 1962, Spider-Man's first appearance in Amazing Fantasy number 15. Now, that's not a complete history of comics, but it's some of the biggest moments that stand out to us. I mean, we can go over many things, like creation of Fantastic Four. We can go over Civil War 1 and 2. We can also touch on Aquaman, Infinity Countdown, Iron Man, Avengers, Star Wars, Flash, and Thor. Moving on from history, I do want to talk a little bit about what comics mean to us. Each of us here has a little bit of a story that goes along with why we like our characters so much and what our first comics were. So, I need to read this one because they're not all my stories. Let's start with Hawk. He can't remember distinctly the first comic he read, but he does remember reading Punisher Volume 5, Number 7. The Punisher is a character who gets things done. Permanently. No constant games like Batman. If you are scum, Frank Castle will put you where you belong. He first fell in love with the character even more when he got the 2005 The Punisher video game. BC's first comic was Batman Volume 1, number 498. He's liked Batman as long as he can remember. One day, back when he was a kid, his dad came home and gave him a Batman hat and said that Batman had actually stopped him on the freeway to give it to him. The first comic he ever read was the first one he ever owned. He had bought it at Al's Comics. It was the issue right after Bane broke Batman's bat. And that brings us to me. First comic I read was Sonic the Hedgehog number 57. The second comic I read was a Superman comic, and we all know how I feel about that. My favorite character would be Captain America, for the way he stands up to evil, always stands up for what's right, and is endlessly selfless. I'd say I first got into Captain America when I was watching either X-Men or Spider-Man and they had a crossover episode. Most important moment to me was when Captain America gave Peter Parker's Spider-Man the speech of, "No, you move." Very powerful stuff. Well, that's really all I have for you this week. Do you read comics? Do you have any favorites? Who's your favorite character? Let us know down in the comments. We'd love to talk to you about it. Until next time, take care. Okay, history aside, I kind of do want to dig into a little bit about what comic... BC's first comic was Batman Volume 1, number 498. He has liked Batman a long time, as long as he can remember. One day, back when he was a kid, his dad came home and gave him a Batman hat. He said that Batman had stopped him on the freeway and told... I was doing so good. Hey, thanks for watching.
Give us a like if you enjoyed it, and dislike it if you didn't.
Let us know what you think about the channel.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Tell your mom.